We continue now at the top of Daf Yutes Amid Beis in Meseches Nazir. This is Nazir Daf 19b. In the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer said, let's say you have a situation of a Nazir who becomes Tameh. So the halacha is that he has to purify himself, and the first days that he counted no longer count. He has to start over his new count. He brings a carbon tumah after he purifies himself. All of that only applies if before he became impure, he was a pure Nazir for 2 days. But if he was not a pure Nazir for 2 days, if he was just a pure Nazir for a very short amount of time and immediately became Tameh, so these halachas do not apply. And on the previous Amud, Ula said that this restriction of Rabbi Eliezer, that he has to be a pure Nazir for 2 days, that's only talking about a situation where he originally declared his Nazirus in the cemetery, meaning he declared the Nazirus while he was Tameh. In that situation, when he goes ahead and purifies himself, so then we say he has to purify himself and count a Nazirus of purity for 2 days, and then become impure for all of these halachas to apply. But if he purifies himself, and immediately after he purifies himself, he becomes impure, then these halachas of a Nazir who becomes Tameh do not apply. And the Gemara now says, Amar Rava says, my time with Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason of Rabbi Eliezer? And Rashi notes, my time with Rabbi Eliezer aliba de Ula, meaning according to Ula's explanation, that Rabbi Eliezer's halacha only applies by a person who declares his Nazirus when he's Tameh. What is the source for Rabbi Eliezer? And the Gemara answers, Amar Kro, it's because the Pasuk says, Ki Tameh Nizro, because he made his Nazirus impure. The full Pasuk again is, V'hayomim harishonim yiplu, Ki Tameh Nizro, those first days fall away, because he made his Nazirus impure. And we understand the Pasuk to mean, according to Ula, Mishum devituma Nazar, it's because he declared his Nazirus in the first place when he was Tameh, and that's when this halacha applies, that you need Yomim Rishonim, you need days of Nazirus Betara, otherwise the halacha does not apply. And the Gemara continues, Eisve Abaya, so Abaya now asks on Ula's explanation of Rabbi Eliezer. The Brisa says, Hareini Nazir Mea Yom, let's say a person says, I'm a Nazir for 100 days, V'nitzman, he becomes Tameh, B'tchilas Mea, at the beginning of the 100 days, Yachal Yehei Soser, I might think that undoes the original days that were counted. Talmud Lomer, V'hayomim harishonim yiplu, the Pasuk says, the first days in plural, they fall away. At Sheyihu lo yomim rishonim, there have to be first days of purity. Only then do we say that the halacha applies. If he becomes impure immediately, these halachas would not apply. The first days would not fall away. V'zeh ein lo rishonim. Again, the person who becomes impure immediately at the beginning of the 100 days, he doesn't have first days. Nitma b'sof meya. Similarly, let's say the person becomes tamei at the end of the 100 days. So yachal yehei soser, I might think that undoes the nazirus. Talmud lomer v'hayomim harishonim yiplu. It says the first days fall away. Mechlal de'iko achronim. That also implies that there are still days to be counted. V'zeh ein lo achronim. But this person who became tamei at the end, after all the days have been counted, he has no further days, so it doesn't undo the nazirus. Nitma b'yomeya chaser achas. Now let's say it becomes tamei on the 99th day. So yach lo yehei soser. I might think it does not undo the nazirus. Talmud lomer v'hayomim harishonim yiplu. It says the first days fall away. Mechlal de'iko achronim. That implies there are further days to be counted. V'zeh yesh lo rishonim v'achronim. In this case, there are early days that he did count. There are further days to be counted. Therefore, this would be a case where the nazirus is undone. And the Gemara says, Now this brisa clearly is not talking about a person who declared the Nazirus when he was Tameh. Midikatani, because it says in the brisa, Hareini Nazir Meya, V'nitma B'tchilas Meya. It says the case is he declares himself a Nazir for 100 days. Apparently he's pure when he makes the declaration, and he only becomes Tameh after the Nazirus starts. B'katani ad shiulo, Yamim Rishonim, and yet this brisa says the halacha of Rabbi Eliezer that you need to have first days, you need to have plural days of purity. And the Gemara says, Tiyufta, this is indeed a repetition of Ula's explanation of Rabbi Eliezer. Rather, Rabbi Eliezer's halacha applies no matter what kind of Nazir we're talking about. Even if you have a situation of a Nazir who declares himself a Nazir when he's pure, we only say the halacha of Hayamim Harishonim Yiplu. That halacha only applies if he had at least 2 days of Nazirus Betara. And the Gemara continues, Amalei Rapapa li Abaya, Rapapa said to Abaya, Holeini Yamim de Kamrinan. When we say that he needs to have 2 days of purity, so it's the Nafak Chadu Maschil and Train, do we mean to say that a full day went by and the second day began? O Dilma de Nafkin Train Maschil and Tlasa. Or maybe you need 2 full days to go by and you need a third day to have begun. So lo have a biyadi. So he didn't know the answer to the question. So asa shaili l'Rava. So he asked the question to Rava. Amar le, he said to him, Yiplu ksiv. It says in the pasuk Yiplu, and the implication of the pasuk Yiplu is that the days should fall away. That sounds like there were 2 days, and he already started the third day. And the Gemara continues, Vitzrich lemichtav Yamim, Vitzrich lemichtav Yiplu. The pasuk needs to write Yamim, and the pasuk needs to write Yiplu. Because of Rachmana Yamim v'lo chasav Yiplu. If the pasuk wrote the word Yamim without the word Yiplu, Havamina, I might have thought at the Nafkin train va'aylan Talasa. We are going to go with the girsa of the Bach over here, however, which is ad nafak chad va'aylan train. I would have thought that even if one day goes by and you're in the second day, that would be enough. So Kasav Rachmani Yiplu, that's why the pasuk writes Yiplu. It needs to be that you have 2 days go by. Because of Yiplu v'lo chasav Yamim, if it only said Yiplu without Yamim, Havamina afilu chad, I would think even if just one day, even that would be enough. So Kasav Rachmani Yamim, that's why the pasuk writes Yamim. And Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Misha Nazar Naziris Harbe. Let's say somebody takes upon himself a long Nazirus. Ve'eshlemes Nazirus, when he finishes his Nazirus. V'yachar kach bo la'aretz, and then he comes to Eretz Yisrael. Be'shamai omrim Nazir shloshim yom. Be'shamai say he has to be a Nazir in Eretz Yisrael for 30 days. U'beis Hillel omrim, and Beis Hillel say Nazir b'tchila. He has to start the whole Nazirus again when he comes into Eretz Yisrael. Ma'aseh Hilni Hamalka, there was a story with Hilni Hamalka. Shalach benala milchama, her son went to war. V'amr, and she said, Im yavo benimin hamilchama b'shalom, if my son comes back from the war in peace, ahei nazira sheva shanim, I'm going to be a nazira for 7 years. Uva benam min hamilchama v'haisa nazira sheva shanim, her son came back from the war. She was a nazira for 7 years. V'sov sheva shanim also la'aretz, after 7 years she went up to Eretz Yisrael. V'hurua Beis Hillel shetehei nazira od sheva shanim acheros, and Beis Hillel instructed her she had to serve the Nazirus again for 7 more years. Uvesov sheva shanim nitmes. Then at the end of 7 years she became tamei. V'nimtzas nazira esrim v'achas shana, and it ended up that she was a nazira for 21 years. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda said, Lo haisa nazira ela arba esrei shana. The story actually was that she was only a nazira for 14 years. And the Gemara says, Katani Reisha, Beis Shammai Omrim Nazir Shloshim Yom, Ubeis Hillel Omrim Nazir B'tchila. It says in the beginning of the Mishnah that Beis Shammai say the person has to do a Nazirus for 30 days when he gets to Eretz Yisrael, and Beis Hillel say a whole Nazirus over again. And the Gemara says, Leima b'hakam miflagi. Let us suggest that they're arguing about the following. The Beis Shammai Sabri, the Beis Shammai hold Eretz Ha'amim, when it comes to land outside of Eretz Yisrael, Mishum Gusha Gazru Aleh. So the only Gezerah that we consider the land outside Eretz Yisrael to be Tameh is the actual land itself. Rashi over here says, Leima b'hakam miflagi, the Beis Shammai Sabri Mishum Gusha Gazru v'lo Mishum Avira, meaning the airspace of the area outside of Eretz Yisrael, that is not going to be a problem. That they did not decree is impure. V'have klisha tumasa. Therefore, the tumah outside of Eretz Yisrael is a weak tumah. That's why when the person enters Eretz Yisrael, we don't say they were outside of Eretz Yisrael in a situation of strong tumah. Rather, they were in a situation of weak tumah, and they only have to be a nazir for 30 days when they enter Eretz Yisrael. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph.